Welcome back to the Hoosier, where we talk about Canada soccer and U.S. soccer. Tonight we'll be doing a recap on the U.S. women's team second match against Australia in their international women's friendly. And apologies in advance if this one's being uploaded a little later than expected or a little later than I normally do. And due to other work I had going on, so it's a really busy time, but I'm trying to do my best to keep it as close as possible. So apologies in advance there. But how about this for the U.S.'s women's national team's last game of the year? As this one actually was a 1-1 tie between both teams. U.S. scored early, but then the Matildas, thankful to someone who corrected me in the last video, that's actually their name. The Matildas and not the Aguilas. I don't know why I was thinking of Club America for Mexico, but it's the Matildas for Australia. So the Matildas would respond in the last seconds and prevent the United States from getting the win. So this would be a big blow to the U.S., but either way, it's it's an interesting result to say the least, especially to end the year. So without further ado, we're gonna go over the starting lineup that the U.S. women's played here. Starting in net, we have Casey Murphy, Sophia Hereta, sorry if I'm butchering these names, Alina Cook, Lynn Williams, Ashley Hatch. Remember her, right? Well, you're gonna hear about her in a few seconds. Lindsey Huron, Margaret Purse or Mitch Purse, Tiarna Davison, Roosevelt, Andy Sullivan, and Emily Fox. So a very similar lineup to last game, other than a few adjustments. But as you still see, Hatch is still in here. And so without that, we go to the fourth minute of play where Lynn Williams dumps it off to Mitch Purse, and Mitch crosses it to Ashley Williams. And once again, Ashley Williams gets it. She buries it, and it's another early goal. And the U.S. are up 1-0 4 minutes in against the Matildas. Keep in mind, too, this game was at 4:30 my time, so Eastern time. So this is why I'm just kind of relying on the highlights too, because there's no way I could have had time to wake up early and see the whole game. That just wasn't feasible for me. So unfortunately for you guys, I'm just running off the highlights, which is why a lot of chances, if they happen, are cut out of it. So here you go. But there's still the goals in there, and that's what matters. 21st minute, Australia would have a strike from distance, but it's well covered and saved by Murphy. Casey Murphy once again covering it, and she deflects it off the post and out. So once again, Casey Murphy coming up big, picking up where she left off last game against the Matildas. 45th minute, just before halftime, Williams sends a ball, threatening ball actually, to Mitch Purse. Mitch Purse tries to wrap her foot around it across the empty net, but she can't do so, and it goes wide. Clear-cut scoring opportunity for the U.S. here, as this was a chance to go up 2-0 against the Matildas, but unfortunately, Lynn Williams could not wrap her foot around it, and it goes wide. 59th minute, Lynn Williams again attempts to have a strike, but this time is well covered by the Australian goalkeeper, and she stays alert. 88th minute, we go all the way to the 88th minute, and it's Kerr for Australia who will get the equalizer as she lays it. Actually, correction. Kerr would lay it off to Simon for Australia. Simon would shoot it, and it takes a wicked deflection off a U.S. defender, and it bounces past Casey Murphy. And it's an equalizing goal for the Matildas, and it's 1-1 late in the game. And this is a big blow, I guess, for the U.S. women's team. There's young women. They probably thought they had a win here, but the Matildas refusing to die, and they earned themselves a good, solid tie against a quality opponent. And then the end of the match, as I said, the U.S. was so close to closing out the year on a strong note, as this was their last game of the year. They would have been 2 games in a row over the Matildas, but I think they'll be happy to settle for a win and a draw. But Simon's goal rescues a tie for the Matildas, and that's huge momentum booster for Australia, you would think, going into next year, unless they have other friendly schedule for this year. But either way, that's a massive, massive boost for the Matildas, as you just tied arguably the #1 team in the world. And so yeah, the U.S. kind of ends the year on an interesting note, right? With the tie, with the big win though, we can't take away from that though. Earlier on, big win against the Matildas earlier on, and I think it's an interesting way to end off the year, especially for the United States. as they're trying to begin their transition period into this for World Cup qualifiers next year, and they're using a new lineup, a younger lineup, and they are now in the post-Carly Lloyd era. So a lot of factors to consider for that, and we'll see how they continue to fare going into next year. And so for that, let's go to the stats. And so Australia had 8 shots while the U.S. had 16. A lot of shots for the USA. However, only 2 of the 8 for Australia will be on target. One of those will find the back of the net, while 7 out of the 16 for the U.S. and one of those will find the back of the net. Australia had slightly more possession here, 51% to the U.S.'s 49%. 414 passes were completed by Australia to the U.S.'s 420 passes. 71% pass accuracy to 73% pass accuracy. 10 fouls to 5 fouls. No yellow cards for Australia, 1 for the U.S. No red cards. 1 offside 3, and 6 corners to 2. Australia dominated on the corners part. So yeah, this game basically, it looked on stats on paper pretty even, but the U.S. looking like they had a lot more shots, but a lot of those shots really weren't threatening, it appears. Unfortunately, since I didn't watch the physical game, I'm not able to critique the actual game, but given the highlights, I guess Lynn Williams' chance was just a really, it stuck out like a sore thumb to me going back at it. Chance to go up, it actually probably would have been the game winner too, should she score it, but that was a clear-cut opportunity, and I just so fortunate she couldn't wrap her foot around it, but, I mean, hopefully they'll look at the video clip on that, and they'll find out where they can improve, and just take away things to clean up for going into next year, and that's basically the main thing that I'm interested in too, is, I'm curious to see how this young team is going to prevail next year, what they're going to do, how their transition is going to continue. And this is just a really fascinating topic for me too. Going into a new era, new players, all kinds of new names that I'm seeing too. So all kinds, and it's just interesting too. So I mean, I'm just really fascinated to keep something to definitely keep tabs on too, for U.S. fans. So yeah, other than the gameplay, I can't really say, can't really critique. Just know Ashley Hatch coming up once again. Sounds like Ashley Hatch might be the new go-to scorer. Sounds like Megan Rapinoe might be on her way out too. So Ashley Hatch might be there to step in and take her place. And right now, she looks very clinical. Both games over Australia, she scored. So that's a positive sign for the USA going into next year. Is Ashley Hatch might be a threat for other teams, and that's really good. Might be a good weapon to have too. Lethal finisher, what it appears to. As I said, but the most player, I mean, I can't really critique anyway, even if I were to watch. I feel like I wouldn't be able to take anyway, as once again, they're still young and they're still trying to work out the kinks. So you got to build chemistry, with new players, kind of like what the U.S. men's and Canadian men's team have. They got to build chemistry, young lineups, young players, right? So you just got to establish new chemistry and just really get things going. And once you have that chemistry established, then things will really begin to look up and really look great. So but things like that take time. It's a process. Trust the process. That's the common theme for these young teams, whether it be men or women. You just got to trust the process, right? Things will work out, and but it's just always but don't I'm missing here, but yeah, don't forget to just have fun with it. I know there might be growing pains with it, but you can't also forget that. Look for the fun moments and bright moments too in this process too, as this can also be good indicators for what's going to happen in the future. So yeah, just my final thoughts on this final game of the year. I think it is, unless they schedule a surprise friendly. I don't think they will, but I think that since this is the last game of the year, I'm assuming it's an interesting, as I said, interesting way to end. Definitely a lot of stuff that they can work on and improve going into next window. Not next window, but next friendlies in next year. So that'll be interesting to watch, and definitely gonna keep tabs on that. So other than the game, great. It's always good to see this rivalry being renewed. Australia versus U.S. Always great to see these two duke it out, and hopefully these teams will just make each other better. And can't wait to see maybe both these teams will even cross paths in Australia, since Australia is hosting it. So who knows? That would be interesting to see. Maybe in the same stadiums that they played in too. So we got to keep an eye on that. So for now, pretty much for the gameplay, I mean, that is it. Interesting way to end the year, and curious to see what they got next year. If you like this video, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Tell your friends about it, and tell all your friends that, yeah, can't wait to see what they got next year.